4:15 is just about with us. Thank you on behalf of Norfolk CA. I would like to welcome you to the annual general meeting. And please could I initially ask you to note that any voting during this AGM will be made by the NCA members only. Please, and also could I make you aware that the meeting is being recorded. Thank you. I propose that the notice convening this AGM has been taken and has read. I have apologies from Robert Smith, Robert Downey, Charlotte Land, Andy Mole, and we have one from Ian Davis, who may well be a wee bit late. I have a list of other apologies which I will read for you. The Right Reverend Graham Usher, Julie Wake, Councillor Mary Rudd, I said Simon Smith, Councillor Sam Chapman Allen, Councillor Lucy Shires, Sophie Leaney, and I've said the other two as well. So that's the complete list. Okay. Proxies again, in line with those apologies, have been appointed and received from the members Simon Smith, Robert Downey, Ian Davis, and Charlotte Land. If Ian comes, obviously he'll be able to vote on his own behalf. And this we will be able to use these proxy votes as at the election or re-election of trustees. Having double-checked the number of members here, I declare that the meeting is quorate. So I think we'll get into the what I call the meat of the meeting. You will have been forwarded copies of the annual general meeting minutes held on the 24th of November 2021. And these were circulated to you as per the right timings. Please, may I have a proposer for the resolution that the minutes of the annual general meeting held on that date of the 24th of November 21 will be approved as a true and accurate record. And also at the same time, could I have a seconder for that proposal, please? Heather and Ben, please. Thank you. I don't need to worry about this, but that be all those in favour of those minutes, please. Those against? Thank you. Therefore, duly carried. I declare the motion carried. We've had accounts for the year ending the 31st of March 2022 have been sent to members in accordance with the requirements of the Companies Act 2006. You will note that these accounts have previously been viewed and approved by the NCA board. One point today, which has come as a little bit of a shock to me, I was expecting Mark Proctor from Lovewell Blake to be here to answer any said questions or queries that you may have. Regretfully, he has been taken ill, so he unfortunately cannot be with us. But in support of those accounts, and he being a partner within Lovewell Blake, I have a statement from him, and which is as follows. The accounts provide the full detail, but I provide a brief summary of the results for the year. Income was up on the previous year by £130,000 to just over 2.1 million. And this is mainly due to movements in contract and grant income and the new Chancellor's project. Expenditure has increased by £74,000 on the previous year, mainly attributed to higher staff costs, which is in line with increased activity from the increase in income. The net result is a surplus of the year of £98,000, which has helped to increase the level of free reserves available. We completed our audit as planned and have discussed our comments with the management of NCA. I am pleased to report that we have issued a clean, unmodified audit report and would support the adoption of the accounts by the NCA members. As I say, that's from Mark Proctor, partner of Lovell Blake. That being the case, can I have a proposer to accept those accounts, please, or adopt those accounts, please, followed by a seconder? Thank you. All those in favour? Anybody against? Okay, so that's therefore I declare that the resolution has been carried upon the voting which has just occurred. I pass on to the auditors, the appointment of auditors. On the recommendation of the Board of Trustees, the reappointment of Lovell Blake as auditors of NCA subject to review and to authorise directors to fix their remunerations. Please may I have a proposer that Lovell Blake be reappointed as auditors subject to review, and please may I have a seconder for the said proposal. Richard Gray and Marianne. Can I ask for in favour, please? Okay, and those again, any against? We'll have a word afterwards, Becky. Okay, so what that means is obviously the proposal is carried, and I declare the resolution to be carried, and that we will be speaking to Lovell Blake with regards to next year's activities. I now come on to appointment of directors, and again we obviously have a number of individuals who have sent proxy votes in, and the individuals who are voting or handling those proxies know where they actually stand. So on the recommendation of the board of trustees to appoint Petter Banks, who was co-opted as a director in June 2022 and is eligible for reappointment. Please may I have a proposer for Petter, and may I have a seconder? We have two in front of us. Right, all those in oh no, I am I there? Am I have anybody in favour? Anybody? All those in favour of that, please. You're lucky, aren't you, Petter? And those anybody against? Okay. On the basis of that, and having looked at the proxies as well, I declare the resolution as carried. Thank you very much. Welcome back again, Petter. Again, on the recommendation of the Board of Trustees to appoint Mary Ann Massey, who was co-opted as a director in June 2022 and is eligible for reappointment. Please may I have a proposer for Mary to be appointed as a director, and please may I have a seconder for the proposal. Who have we got? Heather and yeah. Are we okay, Heather? Oh, sorry, Wendy. You got everybody? Okay. Again, all those in favour, please. Anybody against? Yes, again, I declare the resolution is carried. I can't. Do you do mine? Yeah, I think you better do that. I think so.
Okay,
Handing over to the vice.
Oh, indeed. So on the recommendation of the Board of Trustees, David is down as our next reappointment, as he's eligible for re-election. Could I please therefore have a proposer that David Bowen be reappointed as a director, plus of course a seconder? So Ben and Petter. Fantastic. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Marvellous. Any against? No. Thank you very much. I declare the resolution carried. Back to you.
Thank you very much. That could have been rather embarrassing, couldn't it? Okay, we're doing well here. It's you now, dear boy. On the recommendation of the Board of Trustees to reappoint Roger Margan as a director who is retiring by rotation and is eligible for reappointment. Please again, may I have a proposer that Roger Margan be reappointed as a director, and please may I have a seconder to that proposal. So we've got Keir and Richard, yeah? Those in favour? Those against? That being the case, again, I declare the resolution carried. And finally, on the recommendation of the Board of Trustees to reappoint Ben Mean as a director retired by rotation and is eligible for reappointment. Please may I have a proposer for Ben Mean to be reappointed as a director, and please may I have a seconder to that said proposal, please. Marianne, yeah. Anybody against? That being the case again, and I'm able to declare the resolution carried. I think that covers a greater number of what I call the nitty-gritty factors of life. And for a slight change, rather than sort of coming to a grinding halt, we thought this year it would be good for Mark, who's been with us now. How long is it? 2 years?
No, it feels that way, but no, it's just the one.
Is it 1 year?
Yeah, time goes slow when you're in fun, doesn't it?
So therefore, I know Mark sat here at the AGM last year, I think in a wanderlust feeling, really. But it'd be good now he's really got his feet under the table. I think we've all been impressed by that, which he's done this year, undertaken with the staff and with the employees, and his representation of the NCA within the local community, etc. And I believe we'd like to hear from our CEO a presentation of how he sees life, I think is the best way, isn't it? Well,
how long have you got? Well, so we've got a number of people that are going to present, but actually, first of all, I need to introduce somebody else to the stand. I'm just going to put the mic on the stand, James, for you. When James stands up, you'll note that he may have to change the setting from my height. So yeah, we've got a number of speakers, but I'm very, very happy to introduce James Bagg, who's the chair of our development committee, to say a few words before we get started. James.
Probably going to be a bit longer than that. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm James Bagg, and I chair the development committee. We set up the development committee about 6 years ago now. I know David's here, David Potton. With his help, we established it. And the objective of the development committee was to get the message out that Citizens Advice in Norfolk is a charity. Not just a charity, but it's a county charity. Frankly, amazingly few people actually know that. They think that it's a government-run organisation, and although we've been in Hock now for, I'd say, 5 or 6 years, we've still got a lot of work to do, because it's just extraordinary how many people are not aware of that fact. And I'm pleased to see two of my fellow members of the committee here today, Claire Whelan and Michael Harrivan, who have recently joined the team. As I said, the objective of the development committee principally is to get the message out that it's a charity. Secondly, as a result of that, to identify where we can achieve better funding sources. And thirdly, to assist in the recruitment of volunteers. Now, we've definitely scored some successes. Early on, we persuaded the Board of Trustees to give us some money to hire a fundraiser, a part-time fundraiser. Kate Delaney, who operates actually down in Suffolk. Oh no, down in Surrey. And with her help, we raised sufficient funds to fund the development of the digital service, and that was a big win because very shortly after we'd managed to set up the digital service, pandemic arrived, and none of our local offices regrettably were open, but the digital service continued to operate and looked after as many clients as we were looking after before, although obviously with a different demographic. That became quite obvious quite quickly. But that was a big hit. The pandemic has made things more difficult, but our target now is to look towards more commercial organisations for funding. And with Mark's help, and the reason we have to do that is because, and the reason why people actually think that the Citizens Advice is a government-run organisation is because we've been too dependent hitherto on local government funding. Local government funding is regrettably now constantly being cut back. So we have to look elsewhere. And with Mark's help and his very sort of analytical approach and looking for selling options, as it were, things that we can give to commercial organizations, corporate organizations, something in which they can themselves engage, they or their staff or their clients. So we're looking at options for them. Ideas that we've been thinking about, indeed, are perhaps presentations on what Citizens Advice does on its website. It's extraordinary how few people actually know what is on the publicly available website. I only ever learned about it because I started as an advisor and discovered there are answers to so many questions that people, need in their daily lives. And if only they actually look at the website themselves, they probably find those answers. So there are opportunities there for disseminating that message to commercial organizations, to their staff and to their clients. That may be, and that, in my experience of other fundraising opportunities, is attractive to organizations. They don't just want to dip their hand in their pocket, but they want something that they can give back to and be seen to give back by their clients and the members of their staff. So that is that's the plan at the moment. We've identified some energy companies, and we're having a positive experience with one energy company at the moment, but there are others, and for obvious reasons we think they're an obvious target at the moment. Credit institutions are also organisations whom we intend to approach, because again, for obvious reasons, the work that is being done by Citizens Advice is to their advantage as well, thinking particularly in terms of debt management. That must be of help to them as well. So, yeah, we're adopting, as it were, a more commercially orientated approach, and fingers crossed, we hope that we'll continue to ensure that the income of Citizens Advice increases and enables more resources and more facilities available to help the citizens of this wonderful county. And in addition, through commercial organisations, perhaps through their human resources department, identify people who are looking really, perhaps on retirement, on early retirement, to find rewarding experiences after their normal daily work. So look to recruit volunteers as well. Happy to answer any questions if you wish, but I think that's really all I need to say now. Thank you, Mark.
back down to normal people's height. Is that okay? So thank you, James. Thank you to the Development Committee in making a big difference to everything we do and connecting us to people that we really wouldn't be able to get through to. So it makes a difference every month. Thank you to everybody that's come and everybody that's online at the moment. We're trying to maintain both deliveries, so there should be questions at the end. If anybody's got any questions for any of the presenters, please either pop them in the chat or we'll go around the room. And apologies if I start coughing or spluttering. I'm slightly under the weather, so it's a little bit trickier today than it would normally be. We've got some really good presenters to come and tell you about what we do. So we are always worried that people don't understand the service that we deliver or the nature of citizens' advice. I think you're going to get a much better idea of that for the next half an hour. I just want to say a few thank yous before I welcome the speakers up. I came in 12 months ago, as you now know. 24 months ago, I probably didn't know what citizens' advice was either, if I'm honest. I joined a service which is making a difference every day. We have people in the building helping out individuals who, without their help, would fall into deprivation further or worse situations. It's a great organisation and I'm delighted to join it. And that's because of the work of our colleagues. So thank you to our volunteers and to our advisors across the county and the eight operational centres that we've got. I'm not going to go into great detail of that because Rebecca's going to tell you more, but without them, we don't have a service. So thank you very much. Thank you to the management team for their welcome of me. They made it very easy for me to come in. They showed great patience, answering the same question 4 times when I couldn't get my head around it. Without that welcome, it would have been really hard for me to enter the service and the sector. So thank you guys. It's made it possible really to do a job. And thank you to the trustees as well. They've always been very supportive and welcoming. And there's times in the charity sector, I think that we've all of us that work there are going to find it quite challenging. And to know you've got those people behind you makes a huge difference. There's a few people I just wanted to shout out to. We work with a lot of organisations externally, but there's a couple of people that need a special notice. One is Mel Jones. She's the former Chief Officer of CADAT. That's Citizens Advice in Thetford and District. Mel welcomed me. She established the tone really for the relationship between our organisations, and then she recently retired. That was fabulous. Amy's in the room. She took it up. They're lucky to have Chris as the new Chief Officer. I think we're very lucky to have them in post. They're kind of our sister organisation and our primary collaborators. So thank you guys for coming today and for everything that you're doing. Also, thank you to Emily at NCAN, so the Norfolk Community Advice Network, and our main peer group actually in VCSE World, who I've spent a lot of time with, who are frustrated with silly questions. So thank you to Emily Bolsden, and a special mention also to the Chief Officer of NCLS. So Jane Basham was incredibly welcoming and really supportive, a leader in collaboration. She announced her retirement last week at their AGM, which is going to be a big loss for us, but she deserves a very rewarding retirement. So good luck, Jane, and thank you. Finally, for those of you that managed to pick up our impact report, if you look in the inside back cover, I'm not going to do anything until you're there, Ben. That's it. There you go. You should see some of our funders. There's not all of our funders. You should see some of our commissioners and our partners, and without them, we can't do anything at all. So as James underlined, we are not the job centre, we are not government funded. We work for every pound, win every pound, contract or tender for every pound, and we really appreciate their support. Some of them are in the room today. We can't do what we do without you. So thank you very much for coming to attend, but also for your ongoing support, everyone. There's a few organisations missing there that we don't mention. There's trusts that would rather not be mentioned, but to the trusts and to the many parish councils across Norfolk that give small amounts of money, a lot of money for them, but small amounts of money to help us to deliver. Thank you very much indeed. Every pound makes a difference to us. So that's my bit of thanks. We've got 3 speakers who I'm really happy that they're going to give you some time. They don't normally do this. So I think they're really looking forward to it in some cases, but I keep telling them they're amongst friends, so it's all good. So you'll hear from Lee Brooke, who leads our social prescribing programme, which is a really important programme in Norwich, an important programme for us, and I think you're going to get a lot out of that presentation. You'll also hear from Lizzie Hook, who's turned volunteer, turned lead for our digital advice centre, which is going to be critical to our organisation going forward and to thousands of people looking for advice that can't come to our offices. But first of all, you get our Chief Operating Officer, who's done every job in the, I'm not going to name the number of years that she's worked with us, every job from volunteer through debt advisor, and now in charge of our operational lead, the rather awesome Rebecca Hall. Thank you.
I don't know about awesome. That's a bit of a big build up to follow, isn't it? So good afternoon, everybody. So I do hold the title of Chief Operating Officer at Norfolk Citizens Advice, but I started in the service as a volunteer over 20 years ago, and I'm proud to still be part of such a great organisation. Many organisations and companies have been hit and are still recovering from the aftermath of COVID. Norfolk Citizens Advice is no exception. The pandemic resulted in major changes to our service, moving all of our accredited advisors to our online platform at speed to minimise disruption to our clients and to allow us to continue to provide the ongoing opportunity for Norfolk residents to contact us, be it only digitally, for advice on any issue. We acknowledge, though, that for many clients the digital service meets their needs, but to be inclusive to all, we recognise a face-to-face offer also needs to be available. Many clients are unable to reach us digitally for multiple reasons: access, cost, and or digital skills, or many are simply not interested on being online. Their preference is to speak to someone face-to-face. They like the human touch and the interaction, which we acknowledge. Therefore, it was paramount when it was safe to do so to reopen our offices, while adhering to the safety of our service users, our staff and volunteers, offering the in-person service while continuing the just as important digital offer. I would like to say at this point a really big thank you to all our staff and volunteers who throughout the lockdowns helped to maintain office hours and service delivery and are continuing to do so. Currently, we have 8 offices open across the county. Our frontline advice service, whether face-to-face or digital, is delivered by highly trained and committed volunteer advisors who daily make a huge contribution to our service. Their time, energy and dedication is an inspiration to us all. Our office and digital service are run by an incredible team of advice coordinators who are responsible for planning, organising and managing the practicalities of an advice session. They contribute to training and to quality assurance through case checking and supporting and managing inquiries, helping to achieve the best possible outcomes for our clients. Their local and wider knowledge provides comprehensive support to our team of volunteers, delivering advice to clients in what is a busy service with an ever-increasing demand. The number of clients seeking help is increasing with the financial climate and rising living costs having a major impact on people's lives. The majority of clients are seeking help on multiple issues, all interlinked with low incomes, benefits, debt, housing and employment. Appointments are offered to those who need additional support to complete benefit applications, challenge DWP decisions, complete court forms, or those who have really complex issues. Our service extends beyond the general advice with a number of projects and contracts, providing different levels of help and or targeting specific groups. I'll give a quick run through of our projects and outreach services. We have a history of delivering contracts with the Trussell Trust to provide advice within the food banks in Norwich, Kings Lynn and Hunstanton, which have proved extremely successful. Hence, we are signing agreements to work with another 3 further food banks in the near future. We have trained staff providing help with all aspects of energy advice, which includes, but is not exclusive to, supplier tariffs and bill inquiries, switching suppliers, energy grants, smart meters and warm home discounts. We work with the Multiple Sclerosis Society, providing advice and assistance to their members across Norwich, North Norfolk and West Norfolk. Norfolk Citizens Advice is part of the Information Advice and Advocacy Service with local partners providing a service to local people. Our Chances Project provides personalised health and employment support to people living across Norfolk to move them either into or closer to work. We have a team of 8 accredited debt caseworkers who offer debt and budgeting advice, which is funded under the Money and Pension Service and regulated by the FCA. We are also part of the Hardship Fund project, which consists of 9 agencies who work in partnership to deliver credited debt, advice, advocacy and support services for clients. Many of our projects are delivered in partnership with other local charities. We are not working alone, but alongside and in partnership with all VCSEs in Norfolk. Our advice offer extends to outreach locations, with the successful service being run at the Iceni Centre at Swaffham, helping a large volume of local residents. On the back of these many successful outreach sessions, Norfolk Citizens Advice is extending the face-to-face offer. Rather than people having to travel to our offices, we are working in other locations to ensure we are reaching into communities. In Great Yarmouth, we have recently started working in the James Paget Hospital and will be extending to other locations in the Great Yarmouth area, such as the Mesh and Sally's Stall. In Norwich, we will be located in Norfolk and Norwich Hospital and the Feed, to mention just two. And in the west of the county, we'll be running advice sessions at the newly opened Helping Hands Cafe in Hunstanton and in a further location in Downham Market. The latter have been made possible not only through our social prescribing contract, which our Health and Wellbeing Department lead, Lee, will tell you much more about in due course, but also our Help Through Crisis project, which recommenced in August this year after several years of delivery, thanks to the funding provided by the Big Lottery. Under this funding, we are happy to be working in partnership with Disinfected Citizens Advice, the Mancroft Advice Project and Norfolk Community Advice Network to help and assist and support people who are in crisis. For the future, Norfolk Citizens Advice is looking to strengthen our advice offer, both online and in offices and at outreach locations, rebuilding our advice teams to pre-pandemic numbers whilst growing our presence in local communities and maintaining high standards. To finish, thanks are expressed to everyone who volunteers or is a paid member of staff at Norfolk Citizens Advice. Not all are client-facing, but each and every one plays an integral part in the makeup of an incredible team and help make the work we cover possible, which is endorsed by the amazing feedback we receive from our clients. So I'd like to thank you all for listening, and I hope that you'll ask me some questions later on if there's anything that you want more details about, where we are. But now I'd like to thank you and pass you over to our digital team lead, Lizzie Hook. Thank you.
Hiya. As Mark's already said, I'm not very used to public speaking, so please bear with. I've been running the digital advice service since the end of April this year, supported by our fantastic advice coordinator, Lucy. I started with Norfolk Citizens Advice as a volunteer myself for around a year for the digital team. We provide independent, impartial advice to clients via our advice line and our email advice form, as well as additional telephone support. The service is for anyone that needs help. We support clients with queries on all sorts of issues, including housing, debt, benefits, family and immigration. We give clients the information to understand their options and make informed decisions themselves to move forward with their situations. We may also contact organisations on a client's behalf, signpost to specialist organisations, or refer internally to our own debt or energy teams. Digital advice should not be seen as secondary to face-to-face advice, but as an essential service in its own right. Before the pandemic, the digital advice team did not exist as it does now. When offices first closed to the public, all advice was moved to telephone, email and web chat. Out of this formed a team specifically dedicated to digital advice. What we know is that the need and demand for digital advice is still very present. In 2019, 33% of our client work was over email and telephone. This increased to 74% in 2020, 85% in 2021, and so far, in 2022, still 72%. Our biggest focus at the moment is to increase the number of people we're able to reach and increase the number of calls we're able to answer. Whilst digital is not always going to be the most appropriate channel for the client, there are many circumstances where it is preferred or necessary. A client may feel more comfortable speaking to us over the phone than face-to-face. They may have mobility issues or a disability or health condition that makes leaving the house difficult or impossible. A client may not have access to transport to get to an office during opening hours or access to transport at all. Whilst we're doing a big push to get more calls answered, we will always have an email advice service in place. Email advice is expected to be detailed and to comprehensively step the client through the issue they are having, as well as giving them the resources to act independently. A client may face work or childcare commitments that make contacting us within opening hours impossible. We have clients who are deaf, have a hearing or speech impairment, or other communication needs that makes phone advice difficult. Some clients may prefer the anonymity that email gives, some may feel anxious when speaking over the phone, and some may simply find it easier to collect their thoughts and summarise what they need to say in writing. Importantly, clients need choice over the way they're able to contact us and how we contact them. This may be a matter of client safety, for example, where domestic abuse is involved. We're looking at a number of ways to improve the digital service and get more people access to the help they need. We've recently had a big drive for digital recruitment, and so we'll soon be seeing an increase in new trainees at Whiffler Road. We have hired 2 new members of staff on the digital team, both starting within the next few weeks, who will be trained to offer longer appointments to clients. As you can imagine, a high proportion of the work we are doing is around benefit entitlement and appeals, and we'll be focusing their training on complex benefit inquiries and support. We're trialling different telephone advice routes, including triaging calls. We have reopened the UEA Law Clinic. We'll be operating Advice Line from here on a Wednesday, and we've received significant interest from students who have begun training and expect to be a fantastic asset to the team. It's worth mentioning that Connect, the new phone service, will be replacing the current system in February for Advice Line. We anticipate that simpler IT processes will both make volunteering more enjoyable and allow us to answer more phone calls. In the future, we will also be looking into the possibility of offering video calling and reintroducing web chat services. The digital team should be able to do everything that face-to-face can do, and is by no means a lesser form of advice. One of our digital volunteers, who does happen to be here actually, is already supporting clients over the phone with a special interest in disability benefits. In particular, with personal independence payment and the challenges clients face with the long and complex application and appeals process. This volunteer, whilst working entirely over the phone and via email, recently helped a client to secure over £16,000 in backdated payments. This shows just how effective digital advice can be. And with the current cost of living crisis, it is more important than ever that everyone has access to advice through our digital channels. I'd like to finish by saying our volunteers are not doing this because they have to. They're doing the work they do because they have a genuine interest and care for the people that they are helping. I feel both proud and privileged to work with people, colleagues and volunteers alike, who I know go above and beyond in what they do to help our clients and also support each other. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Lee Brooke, and I am the project lead for the Norwich and Broadland Social Prescribing Project and also the Health and Wellbeing Department lead. I'm here today to talk to you about social prescribing and what this looks like in the Norwich area. First up, I'd just like to provide you some background on the project and how we came to be. So initially it started out as a short 6-month pilot back in 2018 by a consortium of VCSE providers on behalf of the primary care network. This was the first time that such an arrangement has been made locally. It was quickly identified that demand was high, much higher than anticipated, especially with social prescribing being a relatively new term. Future funding was secured and the team began to grow. So over the last 4 years, the project has gone from strength to strength, having supported thousands upon thousands of citizens with their practical support needs. We are now a strong team of 20, consisting of 17 living well workers, a business support officer, a team leader, and the project lead. This larger resource enables us to not only support more clients, but it provides the project with the infrastructure required for rolling social prescribing out at scale to the citizens of Norwich. Social prescribing is a means of enabling GPs, nurses and other health and social care professionals to refer people to a range of local, non-clinical services so that their needs can be addressed in a holistic way. We understand that people's health is primarily determined by a range of social, economic and environmental factors. We know that not all ills can be cured with medicine or surgery alone. An example of this would be somebody who presents at their GP, perhaps with low mood and anxiety. They may walk away with a physical prescription for citalopram or something similar, when those could just be the symptoms of a wider set problem. When medication will improve physical and mental presentation, this will not resolve underlying practical need, driving the anxiety and low mood. Social prescribing can help people to identify and resolve the practical issues that are having a negative impact on their health and well-being, manage their own health and well-being more independently, and connect people with local sources of support. It's estimated that approximately 30 to 40% of patients presenting at their GP surgery have no clinical need. Our aim and purpose within the primary care network is to circumvent those patients in a bid to reduce the need for formal interventions, which will enable clinical resource to be directed to those most needing it. The Living Well team is a multi-agency partnership commissioned by One Norwich, serving patients registered to surgeries across the Norwich primary care network. The project is led by Norfolk Citizens Advice, but we don't do this alone. We work with Age UK Norwich, Equal Lives, MAP and Shelter to provide this service. All Living Well workers will provide individualised, accredited, trusted advice, support and guidance. And we're currently delivering that advice, support and guidance through both telephone and face-to-face appointments, and those face-to-face appointments are happening in a range of clinical, home, office and community-based settings. This ensures that we have a strong person-centred and holistic approach, enabling accessibility for the person referred to communicate with us in a way that they feel comfortable with. We see the importance of having strong links between our Living Well workers and local communities, as well as professional agencies, which is why we have Living Well workers based in set geographical locations across the Norwich neighbourhoods. This improves the client experience, journey and opportunities that are available to them. We can provide support in a variety of advice areas, which include housing, benefits, social isolation and loneliness, education and training, budgeting, family relationships, transport, employment, care and support, and mental health. Our social prescribing service is uniquely different to the most in our local area. We're able to provide the all-important, quality-assured advice component, and this enables our team of Living Well workers to provide an enhanced provision of support without the need of making lots of onward referrals, which we consider makes for a more improved client experience. That said, we will always work to the brief outlined by the client, including what matters to them and what they would like to achieve. We fully support collaborative working, understanding that each specialist agency within our local area could be more suited to that person, providing support focused to that person's needs. This enables us to triangulate support with other services to provide that 360-degree person-centred support. When possible, we will attempt to complete a handover with any other agency supporting someone to ensure that the link has been made prior to discharge, so that nobody is left unsupported. I'd like to speak briefly about a case study that we have prepared for you. We have anonymised the client and removed any identifiable information. Claire presented at her GP surgery feeling anxious, low and stressed. She had recently become unemployed following the completion of a fixed-term contract. Claire hadn't been sleeping and she is really worried about her finance, the rising cost of living, and doesn't have any savings to fall back on. Claire had applied for PIP a while ago, but this was unsuccessful and wasn't pursued any further. Claire has stopped socialising with her friends and is spending the majority of her days alone. So we were able to explore Claire's circumstances in full through her first diagnostic appointment with our service. It was quickly identified that Claire's recent unemployment and a result of that was that Claire was skipping meals and unable to afford essentials such as food and electricity. Together, we were able to complete a benefit calculation and supported Claire with making a new claim. We were able to apply for food and energy vouchers to support Claire in the short term whilst her income was being secured. Claire was keen to get back into employment, and together we made an onward referral to the Chances Project, who were able to start supporting Claire with looking into her employment opportunities. Meanwhile, that enabled our team to be able to review the paperwork that Claire had in relation to her unsuccessful PIP claim. We supported Claire through the mandatory reconsideration process, challenging that decision. Claire began to feel much less anxious about her situation and she could start to see a way forward. Claire was then later supported back into employment. Claire's mandatory reconsideration for PIP was successful, and this additional income enabled Claire to access the community more frequently. We were able to find classes that matched Claire's interests and hobbies, which enabled Claire to be more socially included. Through Claire's journey on social prescribing, her emotional, financial, social and environmental circumstances have all greatly improved. So our future plans are to increase the level of awareness of social prescribing across the locality by promoting the project's scope and purpose among other professionals supporting vulnerable people, improve the accessibility for those clients, and to maximise collaborative opportunities. One that we're currently working on at the moment, we're now in discussions with the DWP, Community Mental Health Trust, and others to look to expand that service for the citizens of Norwich. We also would like to review outcomes and our feedback processes. We've also recently completed a pilot within the project called Practice to Project, which has created new digital solutions, improved feedback to general practice, and improved the accessibility for the person referred. The pilot has influenced social prescribing development across the ICS, being hailed a beacon of best practice. Other places within the ICS are seeking to replicate this model too. And finally, we just want to talk about an award that we've been shortlisted for. So we are really proud to have been shortlisted as a finalist for the HSJ Awards under the category Place-Based Partnership Award. The HSJ Awards continue to be the most esteemed accolade of healthcare service excellence in the UK, shining a light on the outstanding efforts and achievements delivered. We are absolutely delighted as a project that we have been recognised for this award, validating the incredible work completed by our amazing team of dedicated and passionate living well workers. Thank you.
I told you I was proud. So that's just 3 of our staff. Guys, thank you very much for your presentations. It was fantastic. Unfortunately, you got me at the end, but we're almost at the end, so don't worry. I need to say a few things about what we're intending to do going forward. And I want to read you one more quote. The impact report is full of our clients' words. It's intentional. It's difficult to get our clients to come here or to come on camera, as you might expect. But we wanted to make sure that you could hear their voice all the way through to understand the impact of our work. I've got one more quote to read for you at the end. But our priorities, as you can see, are volunteer recruitment. We will continue to do that. We lost around 75% of our volunteers to the pandemic. And we're probably halfway to recruiting the replacements at the moment. We'll also be looking to grow our number of paid advice staff across the county, in line with need in the county. So I think you'll see much more of that around our plans that come out in April. But we'll continue that collaboration with CADAT, with NCAN, with our other VCSE peer groups, and with the organisations in the integrated care system, and particularly our councils, a number of which are represented here today. So thank you for coming to see us. I think they're critical to our future, as well as our corporate partners. But we're going to need to grow our capacity, because we're failing to meet demand at the moment. Demand has never been higher in the 83 years of Citizens Advice Service. We know we need to increase our efficiency so we can do more with the same, and we also need to be more effective to get more effective and more extensive outcomes for our clients who are coming to us with greater problems and in need of more significant support in each case. Lee's touched on the reasons why we're working closely with the health organisations in Norwich. I'm just going to reiterate some of those points because I think the value of citizens' advice and the value of high quality advice is probably undervalued generally in our society. Why are we interested in this? Well, our charitable aim, if you look it up on charities on the charities website, you'll see, is for improving the health of people in Norfolk. There's a significant growing risk to the health of the people in Norfolk from the cost of living crisis. Most of my presentation I can't do because it changed yesterday again, okay? But I think everybody's aware of the headlines, so you've saved yourself from that. But the work we do in housing, debt, employment, relationships, benefits, all the other areas that we cover, these are all the social determinants of health. If you haven't looked into that, have a chat with me later on and I'll bore you to tears with the kind of papers on the reasons of things that drive people to poor health. It's 80% of the things that my colleagues have talked to you about. It's not just medical issues or sort of DNA issues. This is the society we live in that's making people sicker. The rise in poverty. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we had the threat of 1 million people going into poverty because of policy conditions, right? Not because of anything else, but because of policy conditions. The rise in poverty will limit every aspect of people's lives. It'll limit educational aspirations in a county with some of the lowest educational aspirations already. It'll increase the likelihood of crime or being drawn into crime. It'll break relationships critically. Relationships is something that we present to you. We talk about benefits and employment and housing, but relationships is an issue in almost every case. And when relationships break down, when families break down, you see adverse childhood experience increased, and you see an increase in generational cycles of deprivation and abuse. So we are worsening the long-term health of the communities generally. The solution isn't coming from national. I'll just jump the next bit, but you can fill that in yourselves. The solutions and what's working is coming from local collaboration. So it's coming from our work with our peer group from Norfolk Community Advice Network and links across VCSC sector, which has always been ready to work together, but there's been various barriers. Most of our organisations are very small and funding doesn't last forever. So it's been harder to collaborate, but you see increased collaboration, particularly within NCAN. It's coming from our community projects with other anchor institutions, and it's good to have them in the room today as well. It's coming from closer work with a number of departments in the County Council, who's long been our sponsor for decades, and try and make sure that they can do their jobs more effectively because we've got the common aims. And it's coming from increasing closer work with district councils, with health organisations, and with the wider network of organisations that are taking part, particularly in the health and wellbeing partnerships. It's in those rooms, those four, that we will see change and we will support our communication, so our communities in Norfolk. Again, thank you for coming if you represent those groups, because you're critical to our futures. We keep banging on about collaboration, everybody mentioned it actually. Why is it so valuable? Well, honestly, it gets support to clients more quickly. They don't wait so long. There are less handoffs in terms of referral. Referral is more accurate, it's quicker. We can access more specialists, and we deal with people holistically rather than dealing with one issue. We can deal with a series of issues at the same time and give people the basis to grow back into more independent lives. That's what everybody here giving advice is trying to do. They don't want to see the client again. They want to try and help them to live their own life. It also reduces duplication and less waste in the system, which we all know there is, and we have a duty to try and reduce that. So in 2023, you'll see us focus on our clients still. You'll see us finding ways that we can best advise them. We will try to do that through co-design, which is not something that we've done a lot of, but we will seek to hear their voice to change our service. We'll look to enhance the support to our colleagues, be it volunteers or paid advice. They do a good job in decent circumstances with good resources, but it could be better. So we'll be looking to enhance it. And again, their voice will be key to that. This week, we'll be going out to ask them to join groups to try and help shape the future of the organisation. We'll definitely be working in collaboration with other organisations for the benefits of our clients, their patients, your citizens, whatever you call them. We've all got a singular focus, and we'll be doing it for them, not for our organisation's benefit, or our budgets, or our egos, or our politics, but for them. And there's a growing common sense of focus, which I really welcome. And lastly, we will do more of this kind of marketing spiel that you've had all day, really. We will continue to reinforce our role to help people understand how we can help them, and to make sure that it was clear that we're the first point of contact in society across Norfolk, the high quality provider of impartial advice for Norfolk citizens they've come to trust and to rely on. One quote for you. I give you this quote because it comes from somebody who should not really be giving us a quote. It was somebody I knew from a previous life. I met him upstairs. He was having a coffee. I said, "How's it going?" He said, "Yeah, good. Oh, your service is great." I said, "Okay, all right. Tell me about it. Give me a testimonial." "Yeah, good." So he sent it through. If he has issues in society, anybody will have serious issues in society. And these are mostly his words. I was very fortunate to be able to enlist the support of Citizens Advice Bureau. He hasn't got the marketing thing that we've dropped the bureau, but that's fine. Nobody else did either. Very lucky to enlist the support to help me resolve a problem with an incorrect electricity bill from British Gas. Much to my shock and dismay, I received notification back in May that I owed them more than £5,000. Just think about that yourselves. I personally wouldn't want that bill. I don't know if anybody else would. And that my monthly direct debit would increase from £36 to over £1,000 a month. Now, in the end, the matter was successfully resolved. British Gas admitted that the electricity meter had not been read correctly, not once, but twice, and my account was actually in credit to £190. You may want to check your supplier when you get home. The whole episode was extremely stressful. And this is the point. When you have an energy issue, you have a cash issue, it's causing anxiety and mental health issues. That's the link that Lee was talking about, and that's the one that I'm reiterating. The whole episode was extremely stressful, and despite being a city councillor and knowing my way around the system, I would have struggled to reach a successful conclusion without the support and the dedicated help of the CAB. Vivian Grimmer, who's one of our energy advisors, was empathetic throughout and regularly kept me in touch with any new developments she'd had with British Gas. I am very grateful for the help I received, with so many households struggling to make ends meet. During this terrible cost of living crisis, the work of the CAB is invaluable and worth its weight in gold. Without the selfless and devoted efforts of the organisation's volunteers, life would be so much harder for the many elderly and for the many vulnerable people in our society. So that's Brian Watkins, Norwich City Councillor. That's the end of our presentations. Could I ask for a round of applause for our staff, please? Thank you. So we happily take questions for 5 or so minutes, I think. So I'm going to keep an eye on the chat and try and cover that. Has anybody in the room got any queries? I'm keeping it simple. James.
Presentation on social prescribing, we're focusing on Norwich. Is that private schemes, Norwich based,
Just for the viewers online, I'll just repeat your question. So the social prescribing presentation was about Norwich, and is it part of a wider pilot? It's not really a pilot. Social prescribing is delivered by a number of different organisations across several patches of Norfolk, and different models are used. I think our model is proving very successful. I think it's quite efficient. And we get an extremely good feedback, particularly from the clinical directors at One Norwich, who are our contract providers. All I'd say to all the other parts of Norfolk is look at the model and come and speak to us. And some people are pursuing that conversation. I think it's definitely the way to go in the future. Who's speaking to us from other parts? Oh, well, I mean, that the responsibility for social prescribing lies with a few different bodies, but particularly the primary care networks across Norfolk. We happily present to them and explain the inside of how the whole model works and where the benefits are, and also, I suppose, where some of the problems are, because we want to be transparent and share that learning. But yeah, any PCN that fancies a call, we're always available. Thank you. Hello, sir. Yeah, so just to repeat your question, the query about conferences for staff and volunteers that have run in past years. So we have penciled in a date in March. So we would like to get everybody together. I think, again, this predates me, but I think we've run them previously quite close by in Norwich and got everybody together, talked about seminars, looked at future plans. So we'd love to do that again. And one of the calls you'll see coming out into your inbox, the newsletters, is to try and get people together to define what that looks like. So if I design it, okay, it'll be all right, but we'd rather we design it together so you got what you wanted from those sessions as well. So the next one will be March. And yeah, please let us know how you'd like to design it. Any other questions? Right, bear with me. We got anything online, Rosie? No? So it's a comprehensive presentation, you see, that doesn't draw any questions. Right, so listen, thank you very much to everybody that's come in and also viewed online. I really appreciate that. We've got teas and coffees upstairs in on the ground floor, get the right level, in our Norwich office. So if you haven't been in, come and have a look, and we can give you a tour around. Also get to meet the staff and trustees. But I think, David, that finishes AG.
Yeah,